Israeli forces have stormed the Kamal Adwan hospital in northern Gaza, forcing 350 people out, including all the patients and medical staff. In South Korea, acting President and Prime Minister Han Duck-seo was impeached by the National Assembly on Friday. Therefore, Deputy Prime Minister Choi Sang-mok, who is also Minister of Economy and Finance, will assume interim leadership. And the government of India decreed 7 days of national mourning for the death of former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh. Hello and welcome to From the South. I'm Alejandra Garcia from teleSUR Studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. The Israeli forces raided and set fire to the Kamal Adwan hospital in northern Gaza. Some 50 people were killed in the process, including 5 medical staff members. In this context, the Deputy Minister of Health in the Gaza Strip commented on the hospital's state following the attack.
We can confirm that the occupation forces burned all of Kamal Adwan hospital facilities, such as maintenance building, central laboratory, operations department, and the entire hospital warehouses, in addition to destroying the electric generators, the oxygen station, desalination stations, and kidney dialysis department. The fire is still burning in the hospital to this moment. We call on the international community and humanitarian organizations to take immediate action to stop these serious violations against health facilities, their staff, civilians, and patients. We demand a genuine enablement of international humanitarian law for such cases.
The Israeli occupation army is preparing to increase its attacks against the occupied West Bank in Palestine using dystopic technological security systems. The systems will be deployed at the entrance to settlements and key points under the pretext of what the Zionist army called preventing infiltration, and include watchtowers and mechanisms that will fire live ammunition from a distance without regard for the safety of Palestinians. The measure comes in the midst of systematic Israeli incursions and bombardments against the cities of the occupied West Bank. The Israeli occupation is also carrying out attacks with explosive robots against civilians in several locations in the Gaza Strip. According to the Gazan government's media office, the explosive-laden robots are aimed at killing civilians in squares, buildings, and even hospitals. The government body denounced the Israeli decision as a violation of international humanitarian law, stressing the fact that it attempts to destroy Palestinian infrastructure and kill innocent civilians. Thousands of Yemenis mobilized in the streets of the capital Sana'a in defense of the Palestinian cause and to demand the end of the Zionist genocide against the Gaza Strip. The protesters chanted slogans rejecting the Israeli aggression against the Palestinians and warned about the consequences of Arab and Islamic silence and inaction in the face of this injustice. At the same time, they highlighted the work of the armed forces in neutralizing a recent large-scale U.S. attack against Yemen. In addition, the demonstrators reaffirmed their readiness to confront the plans of the Zionist enemy and its Western allies. Yemeni rebels claim new attacks against Israel on Friday after Tel Aviv airstrikes hit Sana'a International Airport and other targets in the Arabian nation. Houthis sources said they fired a missile at Ben Gurion Airport outside Tel Aviv and launched drones at the city as well as on a ship in the Arabian Sea. On the other hand, Israel's military reported earlier Friday that a missile launch from Yemen had been intercepted before crossing into Israeli territory. The Israeli strikes against the Yemen airport on Thursday took place as the head of the United Nations World Health Organization and his team were preparing to fly out from the country's capital. One of the United Nations crew members was reported wounded in the attack. United Nations Secretary-General Antonio Guterres strongly condemned Thursday's escalation of tensions between Yemen's Houthi rebels and Israel following a series of Israeli strikes targeting Sanaa's airport, a power plant and the Red Sea ports. During the press briefing of the associate spokesperson for the United Nations Secretary-General, Stéphane Tremblay, she stated that the Secretary-General condemns the clashes between Yemen and Israel, adding that the airstrikes are reported to have caused numerous casualties, including at least 3 people killed and dozens of injured. Moreover, Tremblay indicated that the Secretary-General remains deeply concerned by the risk of further escalation in the region. She also reiterated Guterres' call on all parties concerned to cease all military action and exercise the utmost restraint. And now we have a short break coming up, but first remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates and more. We'll be right back, stay with us. Welcome back. In South Korea, acting President and Prime Minister Han Duck-soo was impeached by the National Assembly on Friday in an unprecedented parliamentary move to oust the nation's interim leadership amid a deepening political crisis. Han's dismissal comes less than 2 weeks after he assumed the acting presidency following President Yoon Suk-yeol's impeachment by the Assembly on December 14th for his botched martial law imposition. This marks the first time in Korea history that both the President and Prime Minister have been simultaneously suspended from their duties. The impeachment motion against Han, submitted by the main opposition Democratic Party of Korea on Thursday, was approved in a plenary session with 192 of the 300-seat assembly voting in favor. Following the passage of the impeachment motion, the Constitutional Court has 180 days to decide whether to uphold Han's impeachment. In the meantime, Han's duty will be suspended, and Deputy Prime Minister Choi Sang-mok, who also serves as Minister of Economy and Finance, will assume interim leadership. However, it remains uncertain whether Choi, a seasoned economist, will cooperate with the opposition parties in appointing Constitutional Court justices. It is also unclear how active he will be in exercising power in this unprecedented situation, where leadership has passed to the number 3 figure in the government hierarchy. The government of Vietnam is implementing measures to reduce air contamination in the capital city of Hanoi, considered one of the most polluted cities in the world. The nation's director of the Department of Natural Resources and Environment, Le Thanh Nam, said that poor quality of the air has become a critical situation in several cities in the country. Tham Nam warned that pollution in Hanoi is a risk to the health of its residents and might even have a negative impact on the future generations. The measures to fight the air pollution include the drastic reduction of coal stoves, agricultural waste, and the burning of straw. They also considered the increasing use of the traditional clean brick in construction and the plantation of thousands of trees, shrubs, and other greenery. Kosovo has confirmed its first case of mpox, health authorities announced Friday, identifying the patient as a 30-year-old man who recently returned from a West African country. According to Kosovo's Institute of Public Health, the individual was hospitalized on December 24th after showing symptoms such as fever, chills, and skin changes on his face and hands. The institute added in a statement that the patient's condition is stable. Authorities have traced all individuals who were in contact with the patient and have issued guidance on infection prevention and control measures. The World Health Organization has classified the mpox outbreak as a public health emergency since August, following the virus spread from Democratic Republic of the Congo to neighboring regions. Candidates for Chad's local and parliamentary elections are holding their last rallies ahead of voting on Sunday. Residents and young people in the capital, N'Djamena, have decreed poor representation and have demanded better leaders for the city. The election comes just 7 months after Mohamed Deby, son of the late President Idris Deby, was elected president of the Central African oil nation, extending 34 years of the Deby family government. Leaders of the ruling FTS party have voiced their vital objective of winning all the seats in the town halls and parliament to hand President Mohamed a stronger mandate. According to political analysts, the opposition is deeply divided and has little means to mount any meaningful challenge against the ruling FTS. African grey parrots are increasingly being illegally trafficked due to the growing demand for pets. It's their beautiful feathers and uncanny ability to mimic human speech that make them a prized possession in many households. Most animals captured by poachers don't even survive long enough to become pets. Up to 60% of African grey parrots die between capture in the forest and transport to their final destination. Out of 10 parrots, only 4 reach their final destination. The African grey parrot is mainly found in West, Central and East Africa, in countries such as Kenya, Uganda and Tanzania. The population of wild African grey parrots once numbered in the millions, but has now plummeted to around 100,000. According to the World Parrot Trust, in some countries, such as Togo and Ghana, the species is already considered extinct.
There's a lot that the international organizations and African nations can do together to help curb the trade in grey parrots. There's a real need to build capacity amongst law enforcement so that people understand the rules and regulations and are able to enforce the laws that exist, as well as strengthening the laws.
We have a second short break coming up, but before we invite you to visit our YouTube channel at teleSUR English, that you'll be able to rewatch our interviews, top stories, special broadcasting and more. Hit the subscribe button and activate the notification bell to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. Fun and short break, don't go away. Welcome back from the south. The government of India decreed 7 days of national mourning for the death of former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh. In this context, several authorities joined the mourning as a sign of respect for the leader's death, with current Prime Minister Narendra Modi expressing his deep sorrow in the middle of the state funeral. During the mourning period, the flag is flown at half-mast at national level and official celebrations are suspended until next Wednesday, January 1st. Manmohan Singh consolidated bilateral relations and pursued cooperation and friendship with several countries of the region and the world. In this context, the Venezuelan government issued a communique to offer their sincere condolences to the Republic of India for the death of former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh. The Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela stated, "We deeply regret the passing away of Manmohan Singh, former Prime Minister of the Republic of India, who was a recognized creator and promoter of the economic reforms that significantly transformed the socio-economic panorama of his nation." The communique added, during his lifetime, Singh left an indelible legacy who gained momentum as a visionary leader by pursuing economic policies that not only boosted the breakthrough and modernization of India, but they also strengthened the ties of South-South cooperation, opening opportunities for a fairer and more united exchange among developing nations. And the Public Prosecutor's Office of Venezuela has issued a statement informing the arrest of an Argentine military officer linked to terrorist actions in the Bolivarian nation. The communique states that Mr. Nahuel Agustin Gallo has been arrested for having attempted to enter the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela irregularly, hiding his real criminal plan under the guise of a sentimental visit. It follows by explaining, said citizen is under investigation for his connection to a group of people who tried to carry out a series of destabilizing and terrorist actions from our territory and with the support of international ultra-right-wing groups. The accused is at the disposal of the judge based on the provisions of our constitution and national laws. Furthermore, the official communication stresses that the statement and actions made by the Argentine government using the relatives of the accused, as well as the judicial resolution taken by the Federal Chamber of Mendoza, make clear the complicity of the authorities of that nation in the subversive plans that seek to attack by any means the Venezuelan state and its illegitimate institutions. In its closing remarks, the communique states, this prosecutor's office, as well as all the public powers, will stand firm in the supreme duty to preserve and defend peace, sovereignty and the principle of self-determination of the peoples as fundamental pillars on which our republic is built. In this context, Venezuela's Attorney General's office replied to statements made by Argentina Security Minister Patricia Bullrich regarding Argentine military officers linked to terrorist actions in the Bolivarian nation. In a communique, the Attorney General Tarek William Saab informed that the Argentine citizen Nahuel Gallo is subject to a criminal process due to the existence of evidence that compromises him in serious acts that threaten the security of the nation. The evidence will be contrasted through the corresponding judicial process. Tarek William Saab continues, the investigations of the Venezuelan Justice Corps reveal that Minister Bullrich herself is part of the chain of command of the group of terrorists sent from Argentina. Bullrich must answer to the Argentine people and to Gallo's relatives why the trip of this officer was authorized without informing the Venezuelan authorities. Communique concludes that this is a serious precedent in the region. Bullrich and Argentina's Foreign Minister Gerardo Wertheim are named as persons of interest in this investigation. Le Palais Garnier in Paris, France, celebrates its 150th anniversary on January 5th, 2025, having seen some of the world's greatest voices and dancers come and go. Also known as the Opera Garnier, the theater was commissioned by Napoleon III to architect Charles Garnier, who finished it 14 years later in 1875. It has been considered as probably the most famous opera house in the world, a symbol of Paris like Notre Dame Cathedral, the Louvre, or the Sacré-Cœur Basilica. It was the primary theater of the Paris Opera and its associated Paris Opera Ballet until 1989, when a new opera house opened at the Place de la Bastille. The company now uses the Palais Garnier mainly for ballet. The theater was granted the status of Historic Monument of France since 1923.
You could say that the opera house has remained as it was, just as Charles Garnier had wanted, except for the painting by Chagall, which was placed in the auditorium on the initiative of André Malraux. But it has to be said that the opera house was listed as a historic monument in 1923, and normally you're not allowed to modify it. So obviously, particularly for people with reduced mobility, there are easier accesses that have been added throughout the 20th century and into the 21st century. And of course, the staging has been modernized for contemporary productions.
And we have come to the end of this news brief, but you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net and join us on social media. We are on Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram and TikTok as well. For TeleSUR English, I'm Alejandra Garcia. Thank you for watching.